Okay, guys, I think we're live. Hello, everyone. Hello.
Anish.
Oh, hello.
Hello. We are here with Dr. Sid, our neurologist,
Hi.
the expert on the neuroscience, and Sagar Shah, the Doctor Chess. So we have doctors here, and I'm the patient. guys. So.
Anish, I'm so curious to know what are your
Okay,
five
guys, think
questions
live.
because
Hello,
I never,
everyone. Hello.
I mean, I didn't know what
I know.
you were going to ask, so it's
Hello,
going to
we
be.
are here with Dr. Sid. Sorry, I have
neurologist.
echo. I have some.
Hi.
The expert on the neuroscience, and Sagar Shah, the Doctor Chess. It's mine. Sorry. Yeah, the echo is mine. Okay. So. All good? All good now?
Are we all right?
Yeah? We good?
Yeah. Okay.
No,
Yeah,
I just
good.
I had my own stream open. Sometimes, I like to... I'm so much in love with my YouTube channel that I like to watch my own stream during the stream. But it's
Okay.
it's good now. It's good.
Cool. All right.
good.
Because there
All
was
good, all good.
Yeah. That was the echo.
Yeah.
No, now we're good. So, Sagar, go ahead. You were saying something.
Yeah, I was saying that these 5 questions, I'm very interested. Oh, you can't hear, Sid?
no. There's a loop.
There's a loop.
Yeah.
There's like an echo, yeah? So everybody has headphones? Maybe you are listening to the stream as well?
Wow. Yeah, there's a loop.
It was okay, right?
Yeah, I think, Sid, maybe you are listening to the stream. Is that possible? Like on YouTube?
We're good.
Now we're good, yeah?
We're good.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That was very surreal. I was hearing everybody thrice. Okay. Sorry about that. Hi.
Yes.
Anish,
now
hi, Sagar.
everything is good?
Now everything is good. All right. Awesome.
Cool.
What's
Okay,
up?
Good stuff.
Good start.
Guys, we have Divya Raid. I know she gets very angry if you don't acknowledge that. So guys, welcome. Thank you, CEO, for raiding. she's built Discord
no.
especially for raiding.
If you don't acknowledge her, she'll come herself
I know.
and tell. Yeah. So that you should.
First she
you
sends
should
the army,
acknowledge.
and then she comes. Herself, the queen comes, and she's like, "Hey." But yeah, okay, we can start.
Awesome.
I think we can start.
Yeah. What's so? Tell me about what got you interested in talking about this, about neuroscience. What clicked in your head? I'm really curious.
Well, first of all, I like that you decided to inverse the roles. Now you're questioning me instead of the way around.
Yes.
That's
I thought it's better if I
you start. No, that's good. It's a good point. Well, I was watching. In general, I think chess is in itself, just to start off far. Chess, it's a very complex game. Yeah, it's a very complex activity because it's definitely a sport for me, like a top sport. It's like a competition, like boxing or tennis. One-on-one sport. But there is also a lot of psychology involved, like in other sports, but at times more as well, because it is not only psychology is not only affecting you from afar, but it's part of the game. So, for example, in tennis, psychology is there, like you are bothered by thoughts, but you have to get rid of psychology, and then you use the hand. And while in chess, psychology is also part of the game, it's part of the moves that you make.
I mean, so is this in other sports, but in chess, the physical act of moving is very less. Everything is in your head.
Yes, exactly. No, the physical is not really a thing. It all happens in the head, and the decision making is also. It's not just calculating variations, doing the technical chess, but also playing a mind game with the opponent as well, right? So that's why the psychology plays a very big role, and of course to some extent as well. It all happens in the brain. So I had always a lot of questions about the brain in general. And when I saw your stream with Vidit, which was fantastic, it was definitely an inspiration for this. I had a few questions, but of course I was not on the stream, so I couldn't ask them. And I thought, okay, I'll make a separate stream where I'll ask the questions that are bothering me. As I said, bothering me.
I think
Yeah,
one point which I wanted to add is that chess is, I guess, the only sport where there is a time between two players making a move. Like for example, let's say cricket, the bowls, and the batsman to hit the ball gets very little time. Tennis, when there's a stroke, you have very little time. So it's more like this muscle memory has to be
yeah,
very good in other sports.
yeah,
While in chess, you get apart from bullet or blitz, you get quite a lot of time to
yeah,
think for your
yeah,
moves. So maybe
yeah.
psychology becomes a very important aspect there because you're actually thinking.
Yes. Sorry, but just for this session, I thought like psychology in chess is like the enormous topic, and I also worked with different psychologists. But in this session, I will try to stick to like the neuroscience
Sure.
at least, and I think that's
Sure.
a bit more to do with the anatomy, right? Like not only the a bit more of an anatomy rather than
The networks.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the
Yeah.
hardware.
What I really loved about chess when I thought about it was that the decision making that you were saying is actually a part of every game, but chess is the purest form of it. So you can take the aspects of chess and those same decision makings and thought and psychology is a part of any other game, but chess is the distilled version of that. So even in football, say if you have to hit a penalty and you are looking at the keeper and the keeper is looking at you,
Yeah.
it is a mind game.
Yeah.
Where are you going to hit? How are you going to hit? So that same decision making applies even in cricket. What kind of ball are you going to put? But as Sagar said, those other games are all fluid and ongoing. So there is a constant decision making going on. Whereas chess has taken that decision making and distilled it, removed all the unnecessary stuff, and it's only a game of decision making. Nothing else.
True. No, you're right. It's everywhere, but in chess, it's in the purest, and
Yes.
for sure. And again, when we speak chess, I mean, it's very similar to other mind games in that sense. Yeah, I mean, checkers or Go and all this stuff. Then in that sense, I think they are identical in terms of.
Any game which has decision making is actually chess plus. So all other games are chess plus.
Yeah.
It's chess plus something else. You cannot remove chess from any other game actually.
No, that's true. That's why you see many other sportsmen. They are saying, that there is like a lot of chess is also like a metaphor, in many of these cases, and also
Exactly.
in life as well. It's for sure.
Exactly.
For
So
sure.
even if you talk about any decision making that you want to do in everyday life, if you want to decide on how to expand your business, you are actually calculating moves and you're calculating outcomes and you're calculating if you have an opponent, if you have a competitor, how will they move if you do this? That is chess.
Yes, but chess it is kind of purer because you have all the information on the board and it's limited,
Exactly.
right? There is limits to it, and there is the outcome, win or lose, is much more simple than in business. You can say I lost business, but I have more time to spend with my grandchildren, so it's all not so. But in chess, if you lost, bye bye. Good luck next
Okay. I love how we so smoothly got into game theory, because this is finite versus infinite games in game theory. That chess is a finite game because the rules are defined. And in business, it could be an infinite game because the rules are not very clear. Who wins business? There is no winning.
Well, there's still obviously some stock market share and all that, but in chess it's very, very pure.
It's very pure. So chess is like the purest form of all decision making.
Yeah.
So then that actually is a great place to start, because when we're talking of chess, we are actually talking of decision making. How do you decide? How do you calculate, and how do you come to a conclusion? And the better you are at that, that will apply to almost every move in chess. Does that? Yeah.
Probably yes. Definitely decision making is a thing. I will start in general. I will start before, not even with the question, but like I wanted. It's a little bit off topic, but when I was a kid, I heard. I read in some book, but I think it's nonsense that people use only 10% of their brain. And like there is potential to unlock this 90%, but no one knows. If you do something, I don't know, spiritual or whatever, it will unlock. But so what is the science there? What is the truth?
There was a very famous movie that came out, Scarlett Johansson. I saw it for Scarlett Johansson, but called Lucy.
Oh, I saw. Yeah. I see that. It's epic. Yeah, she drinks a pill and.
Yeah, she just snorts some blue stuff, and then suddenly she's able to read minds and control brain waves and all that. So that doesn't happen. In case somebody is trying to snort blue stuff, that doesn't happen. But one interesting way to look at it is that when we say 10%, it is as if we assume that we know what is 100%. 10% of what? It is not like we have defined a 100% limit of what a brain is capable of. So that in itself means 10% ka matlab hi nahi hai. Sorry, 10% doesn't have any inherent meaning. But what is happening is that the brain is like a biological computer. So a mobile phone in 1990 would perform to its limit. But today a mobile phone can do more than a supercomputer could do at that time, because the hardware is continuously evolving, the software is continuously evolving. Similarly in the brain. So the brain is a biological computer. So the way the networks are connecting is continuously evolving. So the way we are able to calculate something is continuously evolving. So at any given time, you are actually using all your brain. You are using your entire ability. But what that entire ability is changing.
But I mean, if you mean evolving, but that would be somebody else's brain. Like my particular brain, let's take my particular brain. Is it used to the maximum? Or your particular? I mean, because evolving in terms of evolution, in terms of the future generations, right?
No.
Or just my own brain is evolving.
Yeah, so that is what is so amazing about the human brain, the mammal brain. So okay, look at it this way. Take insects. An insect would take multiple generations to evolve its behavior. So an insect will take some time to say I will go, or birds are evolved to say that I will go to this country in the winter and this country in the summer. Now these are behaviors that are evolved over many, many generations. Now with climate change, they will evolve gradually. But human beings can evolve so quickly because they can learn so quickly. So human beings are evolving not over generations, not even over years. Human beings are evolving day to day. So if I come on a stream today with you and I really like it, I would call you on my stream and I would have these conversations. Now my behavior has changed. I have experienced something, learned something, and my capacity to think has changed because of this interaction. So
actually the brain does change. Like the brain, yes. The hardware of the brain changes.
The hardware
as well.
Changes. Yes, wow. The hardware changes because
through learning, through Sagar Shah's learning chess. Every episode changed the brain of Samay.
I thought it's like just that what you are thinking sort of changes. How does the brain change? I mean, it's like the components inside it would change. Yeah.
The networks would change.
I mean, I don't know how brain functions. No, think of
this, like a chip, like a Qualcomm, like a computer chip. Okay, like Intel ka chip. What is the difference between an i3 and an i5 and an i7? It is the architecture of the chip itself, right? Like the way the networks are connected. So a nano chip. So in 20 years ago, that same amount of processing power would require a much larger chip. But now because of the intricacies of the connections, the chip became smaller and smaller. But that is because of the intricacies of the connection. So similarly in the brain, it is actually just neurons connecting to each other.
And they start connecting better or differently. We can make them connect better by learning. Yeah, that's how it happens.
Exactly. That is what it happens. So the word is neuroplasticity.
So what Anish is, I think, asking is that even though the architecture keeps changing, is it always that even if it's changing, you are evolving, still you are using just 10% of that evolving thing? Like the like at the end, you are not using it completely. You are always using some part.
But then it becomes 100 if it's always a 10. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. That is a very pessimistic way to look at it. I would look at the other way. I think that we are always using 100% of our brain.
Yes.
But that 100% will keep on changing. What is 100% for you is not 100% for me. Because the way our brains are trained are very different.
Okay, but that's a good segue for my first question, I think. So my first question is, I will elaborate a bit on the question before so that you have a good idea what I mean, because it's a bit vague what I'm trying to say. But so to get better, for example, at chess, as a chess player, I know that you should do more chess. So, for example, solve exercises, where you have to solve a position. So that helps for sure. or studying great games of the past annotated by strong players. That helps for sure. I know that. My question is, does developing your brain in some other way, for example learning a language, or for example studying another game like maybe checkers, or studying a card game, does that also help potentially play chess? And if in terms of like, because there is like a hypothesis that I heard by a person who doesn't know the neuroscience, but just the hypothesis was that by developing your brain in general, sort of, or in different directions, that one direction of chess will also benefit from that. But is that true, or how do you see that?
So there is a lot of truth in that. The reason is, I'll give you a couple of examples. They tested kids who were trained in music from a very early age, okay? And they tested versus kids who were not trained in music, and they studied the cortical thickness, so the brain thickness and the amount of neural connections. So the children who were trained in music from a very early age had a thicker brain, because in music, when you are listening and singing music or playing an instrument, you are using almost all parts of your brain. And those kids were able to do maths calculations better. Because when listening to music, your brain is actually calculating a lot of things without realizing. Your brain is trying to calculate frequency. It is trying to calculate the distance between rhythms, like beats. What is the speed? What is the change in the notes? So these are all mathematical problems that your brain has to solve. So if somebody becomes very good at that, you're actually solving maths. And so if you are trained at an early age to do this, then those same networks are also used for other things, because your brain is very efficient. If one area is good at something, every time you need to do that something, that same area is used. Right? So that way, what you are saying makes a lot of sense. That if you,
Yes, the question will then become, of course, suppose you have a day, 10 hours, is it more efficient to spend all 10 on chess, or spend 8 on chess and 2 on whatever music? For chess, that will be then the question, and I think that is already hard.
How does Sagar do it? Like, how do you train kids? Do you encourage them to do other stuff?
The thing is that if you want to improve at something, you have to first recognize what you are lacking at. Like, for example, if you want to improve at chess, then you have to realize which part of the game are you bad at. Let's say the middle game, end game, opening, or you are making wrong decisions, you are calculating slowly, you don't understand positional chess. So I think when Anish asked this question, it's very important to know which part of your brain is not functioning at the highest potential. And then you use other techniques, maybe it's music, maybe it's some other game, it's Go, it's which will help to increase that. But how do we know? Like, can we analyze which part of the brain is not working?
Yeah. So that was a very, very cool thing what you just said, because when you say good at chess, that is an abstract thing, because if you break it down, you are actually talking of multiple skills. So being good at chess will require you to have good attention, good memory, good calculation, good problem solving, good, there's something called response inhibition. So which means instinctively you feel like doing something, but there should be an ability to stop yourself. Don't jump in, stop, think again, and then decide. Because there is an instinct to, you might play the first move you see, but then you won't be a good player if you just play the first move you see. So these are all very different skills, and each skill actually uses a different part of the brain. So technically, you can use exercises to train just that part.
Yeah, you know what is funny? That for Sagar, chess is split into openings, endgames, and But for you, of course, as a neuroscience, chess is split into that, attention is in that part of the brain, that is in that part. So it's split in differently for you than it is for Sagar. And that makes it very complicated because it's no, but you are right. It's very important. Like there is not an area in the brain that is like a small 1 centimeter cube that says this is chess. No, chess is like the brain starts to grab from there, from here, from there, from here, and then pulls it all together. And
everything.
Then, that complicates it. Yeah, that's why it's. But that's true. That's true. All these aspects, they're separate. They're separate, of course.
But that's a good question because if you can manage to separate them, then it would actually make it easier because if say you need your problem, like Sagar said, if you can identify that one person's problem is emotion control. So he's a very good chess player, but then every time he's losing, he starts making very bad decisions. Then that is a very separate problem. So for him, improving his attention will not help much. For him, the problem is emotion solving, emotion control. So that is a separate area of the brain. So you need to look into that. I
think what I said is the first layer, and what you said is the component of what I'm asking. So maybe if I identify a problem in someone, let's say Anish has most of the things sorted out as a chess player because he's so good. But still, if you try to look at his games carefully, all his losses, you will recognize that there are certain things which he does not excel at, like maybe some other players. And then you go into this part of why he makes certain decisions in those moments. And then we try to fix those parts of your brain. Let's say the decision making. Why do you decide always? But would it be repetitive in nature? That's the question. Like that is.
It's like reverse engineering. It's like reverse engineering decision making.
No, but I had no illusions. Like I saw your stream with Vidit, which was absolutely very insightful and fantastic. But it was clear to me that like you cannot improve as a chess player in one conversation. But I still want to know sort of the the basics at least. And but okay, one other question I had about the brain and. For example, sleep and having walks and physical activity, like how does that influence the brain in regards to aspects that could influence chess, let's say?
With sleep it is very important. So sleep is overall very important for your general health, and that in itself makes a big difference in chess or anything else that you do. So the fundamental principle of sleep is that your brain needs to recuperate. So your whole day, you are being flooded with information, things that you see, things that you hear, and you are only consciously aware of a very small percentage, 5 to 10% apparently. And the rest of it is just stored for emergency backup. And one of the theories, it is still not conclusively proven, but one of the theories is that in sleep, your brain clears it out. Out of all this information that I got today, how much should I keep? How much should I not? So good sleep is important to consolidate learning. So if you've learned 12 hours of chess, the next day you may not remember 12 hours of chess. You will remember only 1 hour of chess or 1 hour of lessons, say, because the rest of it will go. But if you don't get good sleep, then you may not remember that also. So that is one thing. For learning, sleep is very important. Okay. And second is, so your brain is constantly active. So anything that is active is creating a lot of, like waste. So the metabolites, the actual biological, waste. So the another theory is that in sleep, your brain gets a wash. Your brain gets cleaned. So there is this thing called as the glymphatic system. So your brain gets washed when you are sleeping. And if that doesn't happen, then gradually there is accumulation of that waste. So over some time, you may find yourself slowing down. You may find yourself not thinking clearly. So sleep is very important on both these senses. Yeah.
How many hours?
Very tricky question. So the safe answer is 8 hours. Because then you are on the safe side, but there are people who have done very well on 4 to 5 hours. So it is a matter of what your body is used to. your body evolves. So if you have been sleeping for 5 hours for the last 20 years, your body has evolved to survive with that. But the important thing is it should be the same 5 hours. And it cannot be that one day you're sleeping at 10 to 4 and another day you're sleeping only 2 hours and one day you're sleeping 10 hours. So then your body doesn't get time to adjust. Then it is chaotic. But if it is same 5 hours, like if you sleep at 10, wake up at 3, people do that. People wake up at 3 and meditate and all that and very healthy lives. But again, schedule. What your body is used to, it will make it work.
Yeah, that makes sense, because you see that also from some successful people. They wouldn't be successful if this wasn't working.
Yeah, so but discipline is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how is the physical exercise? How does that influence the brain, or there is no?
Have you heard of this thing called as movement meditation? There's basically yoga. If you exactly. The idea of everybody knows that your brain is controlling the body, but it is actually a loop. So your mind can control your body, but your body can also control your mind. So classical meditation is when you sit very still and you control your mind, but movement meditation is you control your mind through movement. So there are certain things that you do, like yoga, like exercise, like dance, like walking, like gardening. So these are all things that you do to calm your mind, to control your mind. So that is an interesting thing. I mean, I think it will be too much to talk about in detail, but it is something to read about. Walking meditation and gardening meditation
it has an impact on the brain, which can then have an impact on your chest, right? So
yes, gives you a sense of calm and greater control over your mind.
Okay, I'll ask.
I wanted to say something. So the idea of learning about neuroscience to improve chess, there is something of transferable knowledge. So sometimes what happens, it's like metaphors. So when I see someone doing something very well, say a cyclist, and a cyclist is using a certain strategy to get ahead, I can take that information and use it in my own life, but in a way that only I will know how to. Because nobody else can really advise me how to live my life, but I can take somebody else's lesson and apply it in my own life. So that's what I was thinking, even when Vidit asked me, how do I become number one? I don't know how to become number one, but I can talk about the brain, and maybe you can use that information and apply it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And in different points in time as well, like there are certain things that I've learned, and then like years later, I would think of them back, and then I would understand them on a different level or connect them to a different information that I. So but it's definitely useful for many people in a different way, right? Somebody can take something from this conversation and apply it to his.
Exactly.
Yes, for sure, to his own.
Is this neuroscience like more like? Is it an exact thing, like what we talk is the exact like what you say right now, or is it like chess training or chess coaching, where every coach has a different way of approaching things? For example, if someone says how to get better at calculation, a person has his own way of doing it, another person. So if right now, let's say you are speaking something about say neuroscience, is it more like this is the most accurate thing, or is it like different neuroscience scientists would have a different approach to things?
No. So it's like this. When we say how to use neuroscience to improve your life, that is very subjective.
Yeah.
That can be, because there are multiple ways of doing this. But there are certain core facts about the brain, like what this particular area does, what the limbic system does, what the prefrontal cortex does, that is uniformly agreed upon for now. That is the tricky thing, that in 10 years, if we do another stream, some things might have changed because we are constantly finding out new things. So that way it will keep changing, but there is a sort of like an agreement key. This is where we are now.
Sagar, we just have to be one step ahead of the competition. That's all that matters. We have to know just a little bit more and have a later stream than Vidit. If I have a stream 1 month later than Vidit, I will be ahead of him. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I will. I think it's still part of this topic a little bit. I'm curious because we speak about sleep and physical exercise affecting the brain. How does it look in terms of like the neuroscience when somebody is tired? Why does he perform less good? What happens to the brain when a person is tired? What does it look like?
So tired has like two aspects to it. One is physical. When you are physically tired, you are low on energy, and your brain primarily uses glucose. Okay, and there is something called as ketones. Now that is biology, but if you are not physically up for it, then your brain starts to go into a slower state of functioning, because your brain wants to otherwise using up a lot of energy. But then say if you haven't eaten for a week, you are not going to be at your most alert. But and again, this is very subjective because it depends on what you're used to. So if you have been somebody who's used to fasting, then it's different. But if you're fasting for the first time, by the 7th day, you are very irritable and tired. The other thing is emotional tiredness. When you are just frustrated, when your match is not going well, or you have had a very horrible fight with your friend or whatever, then you're physically okay, but your mind is very tired. So then your emotions come into play. And both these things affect your decision making. You are not at your best in either of these situations.
Yes, emotional tiredness is very, very interesting because one of the 5 questions I had is like, why do we tilt? And that's you have this feeling when you made a mistake or you lost one game, and you have that sort of, I don't know, everybody has differently probably, but you feel kind of bad, and that makes you play bad. And why exactly that what happens to the brain when that happens? Like
tilting. So I actually, how common is it? I mean, when I was reading about it, it looked like everybody must be going through this.
Yes. Everybody has it. I don't think there is anyone who, like, whenever you are having a rough patch. I don't know if someone who doesn't play chess, like if you have experienced this feeling in some other thing you've done, maybe let's say when you did some test, like a mathematical test, like if you don't solve one, it ruins your mood and then you start functioning less well, right?
Yeah.
So I think one thing which I have seen is that people who are not very strong chess players are able to stop this tilt much easier, because it doesn't affect them at the same level as someone who's very good at it, because they understand what exactly they did wrong. And I've seen this, like youngsters or some kids who are not very strong, they miss a mate in one or something, and then their friends come and say, look, you missed mate in one, and they're like, oh, missed mate in one. And then next game they go as if it's an entirely new game. It doesn't affect them that they missed. But if you tell this to a strong player, like a very strong, he'll be like, oh my god, I could have been on the top board. I missed this point. I don't know if tilt has to do with mastery actually.
Wow, but I think that it causes different emotion. Yeah, basically it's like if loss of a game does not cause the emotion, then it's okay. Maybe the kid doesn't care much enough. But like my question is, how does emotion translate to the brain? So how does emotion affect the way the brain decision making performs?
So,
and the question is, for example, as well, a similar one.
Yeah.
So suppose I am frustrated, but I still focus on the game, as opposed to I am happy and I focus on the game. Like, is there a difference in my performance?
Yeah, there is for sure. In general, negative emotions. So the main 3 negative emotions are anger, fear, and sadness. The main ones. So you can have guilt and all that, but I think in a game, these are the 3 main ones that you come across. And all 3 of them have a inhibitory, which is it slows you down, but they slow you down for different reasons. And that is very interesting because when you are sad, so sadness is in that depression wala spectrum. So when you are sad, there is an overall cognitive decline. So it's not a specific thing. When you are sad, you are not thinking clearly overall. You are all your thought processes are a little slower. And one of the reasons, there are many reasons, but one of the reasons is that the happiness hormone, the hormone that makes you very thrilled, is dopamine. And the earlier dopamine was associated with that kick that you get when you win a gamble, that thrill that you get, that is dopamine. But now we know that dopamine is used everywhere. Dopamine is used to move your body. Dopamine is used to think. So dopamine is also needed to think rationally. So in your cognition also dopamine is required. So in general, if you're low on dopamine, you are not thinking clearly. Mm-hmm. Which is why if you're sad or depressed or you lost the earlier match and you are feeling very low, your next match is more likely to be affected.
For sure. I know that from myself. Yeah. When I am sad, my performance drops insanely. That's for sure. So then, in theory, if you are sad before a game and you have few hours, it's really worth to invest into improving your mood, right? It should bring benefits, right?
100%. It's like oiling your brain. If there is no dopamine, your networks won't fire properly. So you're trying to think, but if your networks aren't firing, those thoughts will not come.
How do you create dopamine?
No, it's not. So your brain creates it.
How can we?
I guess it's individual, right, Sagar? I guess it's like you have to just get happy. Whatever makes you happy, no? Probably do more of what makes you happy.
So emotion control is one of the most difficult things. I mean, here I am talking about theory, but then practically it is such a difficult thing because all these things are coming from your limbic system, which is one of the most primitive parts of your brain. And the limbic system evolved many millions of years before we evolved. So the limbic system is much more powerful than our logical self. So to even think of controlling the limbic system is a big task and takes a lot of practice.
No, but I don't think it's that hard. No, but Sagar, for example, I'm pretty sure, like, let's say if you like some sweets, right? You like sweets. If you eat them, you will get that, right?
Yeah.
Possible. So I mean, you just have to improve your mood. It's just the question I had was if it was worth it, but it seems that it's like scientifically worth improving your mood if you are in a bad mood.
Exactly. So 100%. The question then becomes, Anish, that let's say if spending time with Danny and playing with him makes you feel happy, then should you
before the game
to the tournament?
But sleep was important. Sleep was important. Don't forget, it has to not cross. Sleep was important. So far, we learned that sleep is important and exercise is important and good emotions, guys.
Yeah. So people have that, right? Like, so, I mean, it's not an exact comparison, but a lot of people for exams, I'll give you an example from my own life that I have friends who have grown up giving exams with their parents with them. So then they associate calmness of mind or happiness with having their mom or dad around. And this carries forward. So even when they are doing graduation, super specialty, even when they're 30 years old, the rest of their life, they're completely independent, no problem. But exam time, they need their mom, dad with them wherever they are, because that is when your anxiety is at a high and you are feeling sad, you're feeling frustrated. So then you need that comfort, you need that dopamine. So definitely it plays a role. Everybody has a different way of hacking into it, and we all do it instinctively somehow, because we all know somewhere what makes us happy. So we try to do that, which is why people eat when they're stressed. It's an easy hack of quickly getting some dopamine going.
Because in chess it's sometimes hard, because I didn't know if that is like in general, I thought that when I feel worse emotionally, I play worse. But in chess, the feedback is not completely like, there are games where I felt really bad before the games and during the games, but I won them anyway, and they were good games. So that's why I was wondering, like, because the feedback is not always 100%. You know, you can still win despite something.
So that also, I mean, it's like a seesaw. So if your skill level is beyond what your emotions is bringing you down, then, and of course your opponent's skill level also. So it's like a triangle. Yeah, and the opponent is also dealing with his own emotions. So it's actually like a four.
Maybe you feel bad, but he feels even worse. That's also very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, there is a very interesting point about fear. So fear is different from sadness, and fear has, in fact, it has a important role to play. So it is like a loop. It's like a, how do you call it? It's like a graph. It's like a sine wave. So if you have zero fear, no fear, then your brain might think that this is not very important to you. So you may have trouble focusing. Your attention may not stay there. So as your fear is increasing, your attention goes on increasing, and there is one range in the middle where your attention is at its optimum. Then you are fully focused on the game. But if your fear keeps increasing, then you go into anxiety, panic. Then again, you cannot think clearly.
So some degree of fear has to be there, right?
Some degree of, yeah.
Wow.
Is it possible to develop sort of this attention and concentration without bringing in that fear into the picture? Like you just...
Yeah.
I mean, it seems very...
I'm not sure, like fear, it doesn't have to be that fear, like your fear of the opponent, but it's maybe the fear, but is it also the, for example, is fear of failure, can it be slightly helpful? Fear of failure?
I think so, very
absolutely.
Very
it is a sign that you're taking it seriously.
Yeah.
So it's okay to have some fear of failure.
Of course. How else would you know the difference between a practice match and a final?
Well, but that's what I wonder, like, because sometimes you wonder if you should feel like when it's an important game that you should feel like it's not important, but maybe but there is a balance, like you should feel that it's important but not like that important that you lose and you have anxiety and all that. And,
so what you are doing is actually hacking. It is like you have that knob in your hand and you're trying to find that perfect range, where if you feel like you're getting too stressed, you will say, okay, let me just pretend that this is a practice match. So then your fear comes down. So that's what I said. I think we all instinctively do a lot of this.
Yeah,
without
instinctively, for
really
sure.
knowing why we are doing it, but we do it anyway.
And what was the third emotion that we had? The one
anger.
Anger. Oh, what about anger? That's nice.
Anger is the worst. Anger is the worst.
Oh.
Anger. What anger does is, anger removes your attention from everything except one thing. So
but that's good, no? Focus.
No, you're not focusing on the right thing. You're not angry at a chess. You're not angry at the game. You're angry at one move that you made, or you're angry at one person, or you're angry at somebody who made a noise, or somebody's phone went off. So anger will give you a lot of attention, but on the wrong thing. So anger is the worst out of all these things. The other things you can still somehow modulate a little.
So
and all.
anger doesn't help, yeah. But anger does help with motivation sometimes, right?
If you can hack anger, like you can get angry, really, and then shift that anger into a thing which is important for you to focus upon. That could be nice. Like before the game, you sort of get into a fight knowingly with someone, and then it makes you really like. It should not pumped up, and then you say, now I need to use this anger to focus on the game. That would be
if you have that much control of being able to shift all that attention and bringing it and not really think about the fight anymore.
Yeah, but that's not how it works.
Anish, hasn't it happened to you that you have fought, let's say with Sopiko or something like that, and then you say, now I'm going to practice chess, and then you like focus with full attention, and then something like that?
Not that. But let's say what can happen is that, let's say when one competitor, for example, makes you angry, and let's say you have a training session, and then you turn that anger into a motivation because. And then you work hard during the training session. I can imagine, though. But I think I'm not sure I had that often. And if I imagine that I'm angry on someone, I indeed imagine that my brain keeps going back to that story that made me angry, and that just is a massive distraction.
It is a matter of distraction. So anger might allow you to think about something, but it will not. In general, what I found is anger does tend to distract you because you are very rarely focusing on the game itself. You are focusing on the reason why you are playing the game. So that might not help you. It's great for motivation, but it's not good for attention. That is the difference.
And again, like as I said, the problem with chess is that like you can do some things wrong. For example, you can be angry and win anyway, despite that.
Yeah.
But you will think you won because of that, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Then you will try to get angry again, but you should realize you won because you are a strong player. But the anger actually was the disturbing factor, and better to have you would have done even better without it.
You won despite the anger, not because of the anger.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think it's more about trying to understand how many times you got angry, and then it helped you, like sort of statistical data in that could be important. And if it keeps happening again and again, then maybe anger is good. I mean, for you as a person, as works for you, I guess.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, you like on the surface, you would imagine that someone like Kasparov looks angry because of his, his face, and he's like this always. So you think that it might have helped him.
Yeah.
But maybe Kasparov's main strengths were imagination and ability to work hard and calculation and vision, and maybe anger was that one factor that was inhibiting him. But despite that anger, he still became number one.
Maybe.
And people maybe think like, well, maybe because of the anger, but. Anger doesn't sound like the good one, but some fear, guys. Some fear is important.
Good question to Kasparov next time he meets him. He might be the person who can tell you whether anger was good or it stopped him. Because I don't think anyone else has the answer to that.
Yeah, also maybe he was not as angry as he looks. Maybe he looks a bit angry, but then he comes back to his room and he's like, let's just watch some movie, and maybe he's chilled. Maybe he's actually much more chilled than.
If he has figured out a way to channelize that emotion, then I'm sure that can be any emotion can be channelized into something positive, for sure. But it takes practice. That's what I meant. It's not easy to do that.
Yes, and one other simple question I have. So, like, the question is, why do grandmasters blunder? And that's basically like. To translate it to neuroscience, maybe that would be like, why would someone who is skilled at something and he definitely knows under normal circumstances he can perform that task, but now he does not. So and why does that happen? The split second of blunder.
Wow. Do you think it's there is an attention lapse?
Yes, probably there is like a very brief drop in attention, because let's say. You see that immediately after you do it. Yeah. But at that particular moment, you had to take a decision and you did not see it, and that happens really a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't you see it? Then every one of us have made blunders of some sort. So why?
But someone who is skilled, like let's say if somebody who is not skilled, let's say if some 1600 player makes a blunder, that's because it's not like. That's normal for him to make blunders. Sometimes he can walk into a back rank mate and he misses that. But let's say if a grandmaster blunders, then he does something that then it probably has to do with like stress factors, right? Probably stress is then the emotion maybe.
There could be multiple reasons, right? Why you would blunder.
We go back probably to emotions and to tiredness as well again, right? It could be again
all these factors. So when you said 1700 versus a grandmaster, do you really think that the brain is that different? It is after all a spectrum, and the level of blunders would be different, but the reasons for the blunder would be the same. In both. So there is loss of attention, but the 1700 player will lose attention more and the grandmaster will lose attention less. The emotion will play a role in both. The stress will play a role in both, but the grandmaster will be able to handle stress better, will be able to handle emotions better. But better does not mean absolute. And that tipping point, what is the tipping point for one person is different. So that is what makes a grandmaster, that the tipping point is much higher up. But the mechanics of attention lapse will remain the same. That for 1 second, your attention shifts and one thing is not obvious to you anymore. And the reason for that is the same, that your networks didn't catch that because your attention shifted somewhere else. So it is literally the same thing that happens, but in a 1700 player, that will happen every 2 hours or every 1 hour or every game. Whereas in a grandmaster, it might happen once in a day or once in 10 games. But the mechanics will remain the same.
Yeah, so
Maybe because of lot of practice, also grandmaster's brain is tuned in a certain way,
Yeah.
which could also lead to a blunder, which may not happen with an amateur, because that thing they haven't gone through.
Yeah.
Like by repeatedly seeing certain patterns, right, practicing, doing certain things, and then when a situation comes where you cannot make use of that and you blunder, then that is something which amateurs never experience, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That what stresses you out is different. So an amateur might get stressed out at situations that for a grandmaster it is routine.
Yeah.
There's no need to get very excited. But again, there'll be some tipping point for everyone. And that is what probably differentiates between this. And also chess, because it is an ongoing game, a chess as opposed to, say, pistol shooting. Now, I have a friend who is training to join the Olympic team for air pistol shooting. And the way he says it is that attention has to go up, reach a pinnacle at the point of trigger pulling, and then come down again. And he has to come down all the way, and then again build up that attention to that point, and you play it enough and you can recognize that attention level.
Wow.
And your breathing and your body posture and every muscle has to be in a particular tension, and your back has to be straight, and you have to press the trigger at the right point of your exhaling, and all those things have to be exactly the same at every shot. So that is, and when you are at that pinnacle of attention, everything will be the same, but you have to keep on repeating that. So but even there, nobody gets a perfect score every time. There will be one shot that is 1 point less. So
but there is easy, right? Because you have that moment where you shoot, and in chess, like you have to like be shooting sort of throughout, and you never know, like you never know also what happens. I think very often, and that's maybe one of the reasons why some players make big mistakes, is that you expect that there is that you are going through an easy patch, and then a question appears. I think that's what happens very often. So let's say the brain, if you train your brains, like, okay, when nothing happens, you can sleep, now you can chill, then okay, some complications, now you wake up, now again you chill, and then maybe while you tell the brain it's time to chill, suddenly there is like a big question from your opponent, some move, and then the brain is chilling, but you actually have to go into this attention mode, and you aren't there. And you aren't there. Maybe that's also
interesting.
Also an issue.
Oh, that is very interesting. Is that how you see the game? That there are periods of stress and periods of chill?
For sure. Yeah, there are.
For example,
yes.
Like in shooting, as you said, I also read Abhinav Bindra's autobiography, that they have their ways to get into that optimum frame of mind while shooting. But I think in chess, let's say the opening phase is prepared at home. So if you get into your opening preparation, that part of the game is already, you know it. The end game is sort of some of the things you have studied, theoretical end games, you know it and stuff. So that part is also out. So then it comes to that middle part where there are also critical moments, I think, where the grandmasters sense it much better than the amateurs. And that is when they go into complete attention mode, because they know something is here. But if they don't recognize that moment, that's when actually blunders happen. That, okay, I didn't recognize it, I just made a move, and that's when they miss it.
I'm very curious about something that you just said. In the start, I read somewhere that in the first 4 moves of chess, there is some 3 billion combinations or something.
Yeah, but that's not exactly true. The thing is that they are possible. But out of them, the sensible ones, they come back to the, let's say, I don't know, like a few hundreds. Because like the 2 sequences of moves don't make sense. Like losing a piece doesn't make sense. So while in theory it gets exponential, in reality it's exponential but much less. Let's say on first move you have like 6 sensible options. On the second move you have 4 sensible options. On the third you have 5 sensible options. So it will become 6 times 5 times 4, and that's like just 120. That's not so much anymore. So
So when you start playing, when you, in your so first and second moves, you would sort of calculate and decide that okay, I'm going to go ahead with this. I'm assuming. Do you do that?
Well, basically the thing about the opening phase is that you already, as an experienced player, you already know all the known first four move options, and there are like a few hundreds of them, I guess, but you know them already. And yes, basically you build knowledge above that. So like it will be very unlikely that there is a position after four moves that I have never seen, and that will usually signal that the position is either clearly better for one side, and I will be able to tell why. So but it, of course, like already to move 5, 10, very often you are in an unfamiliar position, and very often both players, they follow theory until move 20, 30 even, and then they start thinking from that moment on.
So till there, it's on autopilot. You just
it's something you prepared at home because you have like and so it's some part of you also have like an opening repertoire. Yeah, let's say some openings that you always play that you are familiar with.
Right.
And then if you play that, then the games that are in the database, the opponent will prepare for them. So yes, in chess there is a lot of that preparation in there. That's for sure, and that involves different decision making before the game. You have to choose and stuff. It's another type of decision making. It's another art of preparing. It's like a separate topic in chess. But the actual game very often, the actual like combat over the board starts like beyond move 20 and 30. And actually in between there is like some memorization involved as well, right? You have to memorize.
So when you are playing, how much of it is instinct and how much of it is calculating ki, okay, this will go, the next 10 moves will go like this. You're calculating, and sometimes do you also feel an instinctive, I feel like this is the right move. Do you feel that?
Yes, I think that people who don't really know chess, they assume that chess is calculation, right? And also it's how it's portrayed in the movies. Yeah, they show like this, and sometimes you have these lines that are very straight, especially in the end games. And like pawn end game, you know, it's sometimes like I push my pawn, you push yours, I push mine, you push yours, I push mine, you push yours, I promote the queen, you promote the queen, I give a check, you have to play this, I give this check, you have to play this. Sometimes you can calculate like 20, 30 moves deep in a one straight line, but what you usually have in a complex position is that there are so many options that you cannot calculate them because there are like 5 options on each move and the tree becomes so wide. And then you use a combination of instinct and calculation, and sometimes very often you have actually a thing that you feel that the move is right or it should be right, but you cannot justify it. And then very often you have to choose whether you like go for it and then later hope that it will be justified, or you just abandon the instinct and go with what you've calculated. But that's definitely something which is very complex, and that's what chess is definitely about. You know, the finding the balance between intuition and.
Yeah, I really love this. I'm so glad I asked you this because the idea is that, like I said, because there is something cortex and subcortex. So the most advanced part of your brain is the cortex, which is called as the neocortex, the new cortex, and there is a subcortex, and the subcortex has evolved much earlier, and it has had a head start of 1 million years. So because it has been evolving for so long, it is much better at calculation. So when we talk of instinct or intuition, what is actually happening is that there is a lot of calculation going on in your subcortex that you are not aware of because your awareness is in your neocortex.
Okay. I see.
So it's literally like your neocortex is sitting with a calculator and your subcortex has a super quantum computer, but you can't access it. But your quantum computer will just give you a slip saying, if you want to trust me, trust me. And you have to decide whether to trust it or not, but you don't have access to how it did it.
But you know, if I today trust my intuition and then afterwards I lose, it will be your fault. Yeah, after this whole story of the genius subcortex that will let me down. I mean, I don't know.
No. So that is why I asked you this, because the subcortex is trained for very specific things like movement. So if you have to run up some stairs, now think of the amount of calculation you have to do. I see like how much each leg has to move up, with what force each leg has to come down, where should your center of gravity be, should you be leaning back or forward, where should your hands be, how much angle should your hands move, where is your head. Now if you try to logically calculate all this, it is too much. You can't do it. you will fall down.
Yeah, you'll go crazy. Yeah, but for that is responsible this intuitive part actually that just tells you how to do this.
Yes, so that is your subcortex actually calculating all of this angle, force, volume, tension, everything your subcortex is calculating. So it is actually very good at calculation, except that it is calculating other things. It is not calculating this.
Okay, I understood what I have to do. Sorry to interrupt. I understood. I need to do an MRT scan and see and make a move, and then you see what area of my brain is involved, because we don't know, right, at the moment.
We don't know. We
have to do the scan.
So
okay, next
I
session we do the scan.
Anish, what you could, I mean, I don't know, Sid, is it possible to improve your subcortex, like make it refined by feeding it things on a regular basis, so that when you are actually making a decision, then it gives you better that is, you said, it gives you a slip, sort of, this is what you need to do. It gives you better. So is there a way to train your subcortex?
I don't know. So one thing that came to my mind when you said this was music, because music uses a lot of your subcortex. Because like I said, the brain, if it is good at doing something, it will use that same area. So in music, there is a lot of calculation. So your subcortex is used a lot when you're listening to music. So every time you feel good listening to music, it is because your subcortex is working fine. So if you are listening to music then, or creating music or learning to play an instrument, then your subcortex is getting better at calculation. But I don't know how to voluntarily use that to make you better at chess. It naturally happens. So that's why I asked this question. Instinct naturally develops in everyone. We just don't know how it develops.
But the question is, so we suspect that chess uses, like you use subcortex when you play chess. We suspect that, right? That must be the case.
Yeah.
And so the intuition is basically a calculation at a higher level, just that you cannot access the calculation, you just get the reply, just get the move out of it.
Yeah, pretty
that's
much.
That's why intuition is such an important factor in chess, and that's why
it's like
you have to trust it.
A paper slipped through the door, under the door. You get it, son.
So all these training camps that you hold, Anish, or all these training that you do is basically to improve your intuition, right? At a point where you make better decisions, your intuition gives you better suggestions. I think that's the only reason why you do it.
Yes, but in chess, of course, it's complex, and there are some positions, especially again, like the end games, or the ones that can be calculated to the end, where you. Like intuition will not really help you. Like there are like few move options, and you are able to calculate them out. So you can just do it with the other cortex, I guess. You just by brute force you calculate this option, that option, and then you come up with the right answer. And that's a more efficient and a better way than trying to listen to that, find that sleep under the door. Instead of finding the sleep, just calculate it. It's faster and better maybe.
Yeah. So there is
sleep. It can give you the right direction, no?
For sure. For sleep does, yes. And that's why some people solve it faster than others, because they start calculating the right thing. And I guess that subcortex thing improves with the more patterns you see, right? Pattern recognition.
Yeah. Yes. So pattern recognition is a huge thing. So there's something called as chunking, which we had spoken about last time also, Sagar. How like grandmasters will see a large part of the game as one unit.
Yes. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I start playing, I see a rook as a rook, a pawn as a pawn. But grandmasters will see 4 to 5 pieces as one shape.
Yes.
And so they're not playing pieces; they're playing shapes. Which I found very interesting, because that's how all games work. So even in football, when you see individual players versus, even as a fan, when you're seeing a football match, initially you're seeing, okay, what is Messi doing? What is Ronaldo doing? But if you keep watching, gradually you start seeing the whole shape of the team, and you realize that they're all moving as one shape. And that is what decides whether the team is going to win or lose, because that is how Because when amateur chess players they miss a piece and they say, I was focusing on that bishop there. I mean, I see the position, right? All this, like for me, it's one. How can I see that bishop? You see the position. What do you mean? Exactly. That's for sure. Yeah. Very interesting. Definitely. But what we did learn here, I think, is that intuition is not just something. It's basically calculation. You just
cannot see the calculation. You just cannot see that whole sum. You just get the result. And so there is definitely an argument for listening to the intuition.
For sure. Awareness. So when we talk of consciousness, when we talk of what you are aware of, we are actually aware of a very superficial level of our own brains working. So technically, meditation is supposed to increase your awareness of what is going on a little deeper.
Oh, really? Wow.
So that could be one thing that I might help you as well.
Yeah, but it's a different stream. This is not the one where we promote meditation app. It's a different stream. It's on the other stream, meditation app.
I can't see that. I can't see the logo behind.
No, this is different logo here. It's not. We don't care about the meditation apps here.
Sorry, I forgot. I got the wrong note. Sorry.
It's a different stream. No, but I'm kidding. Of course, no. But it's clear. Yeah, meditation is in general. It's clear. You know, it's not for nothing that it's helpful.
I was thinking like intuition. Like let's say even when we are talking something, it's intuitive in nature, right? Whatever I ask you a question. There's no time for you to calculate everything that is being asked. You have to talk intuitively. So when it comes to intuition, it's always things that you know. When you talk, also it's always what you know. So I guess that it's basically it would help if you listen more or if you work on more, and then your intuition gets better.
Of course, for sure.
Like for example, right now I'm listening to this, like what you are saying, and then my intuition to certain questions or to certain decision making would be fine-tuned. But when someone is talking or when someone is playing chess, then I think their intuition is not evolving. But if you analyze it later, then you are fine-tuned. I think it's very important in life to fine-tune your intuition. I think
very true. That is that is such an important thing what you just said. So when we say you should practice more, in fact, you are actually practicing to improve your intuition.
Yes.
Not your knowledge. Yes. So there is a book called Thinking Fast and Slow. It talks of system 1 and system 2, but the idea is that the more you do voluntarily, like you have to calculate everything, it is called as cognitive load. So if you keep everything on your cognitive load, it means everything you do, you have to think logically and plan and calculate and come up with reasons why you're doing it. And while that sounds great, it is very exhausting. So the better you make your intuition, the lighter is your cognitive load. So you're actually freeing up your mind to think of more imaginative solutions, because all the groundwork is being done by your
Yes. Basically, what we can learn from this is that again, you have to do more. If you want to do something better, you have to do more. And like, it's even funny. There are even things like it's a stupid example. For example, like with me setting up my OBS, like I knew from the start what you have to do. Like you you do like this to make it smaller, and then you do Alt to to fix the sides. It's very basic, but until I've done it a few times, like I've improved in that, like despite that it's even so basic, but like you still see improvement by just doing it a few times, right? Nothing happened. Like it's not like I didn't gain any knowledge or anything like that. It's just that, and I think that goes to show, and that's also why, for chess players are just like for anyone else, you have to do more of it, and then you'll get better.
And with a lot of feedback from the chat saying no volume. I have never seen anything more scary than starting a stream and everybody saying no volume.
There's too much fear is there, right? A little bit fear of people saying no volume is good for you, but too much fear and too much, and it's it's very interesting. No, I think yes, a lot of in general such discussions always there are more questions in the end than at the beginning. But let's talk about one other topic before we conclude this important one. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I needed to. I have a meeting at 6, so I have to leave. If it's okay, yeah.
Of course. Thank you for joining, Sagar. Thanks.
Yeah,
it was lot of pleasure, Sagar.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to think about it. I think Anish put it rightly that there are more questions now than at the beginning.
Let's connect. I'll take your contact from Anish, and we'll be in touch.
Sure, Sid. Thanks, Anish, for inviting. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Bye, Sagar. Okay, let me see how the OBS. Okay, OBS is there. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No one topic that I wanted to know also is the memory. Yes. So, like, why do we forget?
Yeah.
And in memory, like, there's a lot of aspects, of course. Yeah, like all kinds of different memories. So let's see if you need any guiding questions or if you can just give us a lecture on memory in general.
The idea, yeah. So the best way to understand memory is through learning. So the first time you started learning chess, just out of curiosity, did you also learn chess with your dad and?
Yeah, I started with my mother. Well, first my mother tried to teach me, but she was not too patient, so she explained me once, and I didn't get it. Few rules, and then I read later when I was 6. I read it in the book, the rules. So then that's how I got to know the rules, and I started playing with my mother, and then in the club.
Okay, so the best way to learn about memory is the different stages of learning. So the first time you read the rules, you have to memorize them. So when you pick up a bishop, you have to say, okay, this is a bishop and this is the shape. And on day 1, that knowledge is stored in a different part of the brain. And the 10th day you pick up a bishop and say, this is a bishop and this is how it moves. It is stored in a different part of the brain. And today it is stored in a different part of your brain. So you are, when you say memory, you don't have one type of memory. You have 3 or 4 different types of memory. And your memory goes from something called as immediate memory, which if I give you a phone number and I tell you to remember it, you will remember it for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and then you'll forget it. That is immediate memory. And then you have short-term memory, which if I say tomorrow you have to be at this place in this time, you will remember it for that much time. And then you have long-term memory, which is where did you go to school and what is your name and all of that. And then there's something called as procedural memory, which is the things you do like cycling or walking, which you don't forget.
Yeah.
Like swimming. Once you learn it, your brain figures out how to do this and then doesn't forget it.
And do you know your name so well because you keep encountering it, or because it's, or suppose, imagine somebody learned his name, and then no one ever called him that, and he never had to write it down. Would he remember it, or?
No, probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, someone just forget. Like, what was my name? Nobody told it to me.
No, I'll tell you. You may remember your name because you will start to identify as your name.
In your thoughts, you'll think like...
In your thoughts, yes. Yeah. So, because then that is part of your identity. So you will say things like, I am so-and-so, I am a man, I am so many years old. All of these are constructs that we give to ourselves so that, you have to have some identity. Otherwise, who are you? So for that, you may remember your name. There is a reason why we will keep signing our name in different places in school, because you like to identify with yourself. But other things, so if a friend introduces himself as with a name and then you don't see them for 10 years, you may not remember that name because there's no reason to keep identifying with that name. So basically there are different, and that probably explains and training, like let's say practical question for a chess player, for example, there is a memory for memorizing your opening variations, the one we spoke at the start. You have to all this first 20 moves, and like for example, I know that I have a very good memory for that, like relative to some of my colleagues and my friends who are chess players. I know that it's good, but for example, when I play a memory game with my sisters and my wife or like all of my family, I am like lower than the average there, despite that clearly within the chess, like I am much more advanced in that. So is there any connection between these two, or? There is. There is a beautiful connection. So what is the one thing that your brain is very good at remembering is faces, and especially faces of people who are close to you. So for example, the face of your mother and your father, the face of your sister and your brother, even in a crowd of 100 people, you will immediately be able to pick them out. Even though they're all similar, everybody has 2 eyes, 1 nose, lips, ears, they're all similar, but your brain can pick out the face of your relatives very quickly, because your brain is very tuned to pick out faces. Okay. Now, what has been found in chess players, in grandmasters, as opposed to beginners, is that when chess players look at a board and they see a position, the same area of their brain, which is called as the fusiform cortex, which recognizes faces, get activated when they look at patterns.
Wow, so the brain is trained to use the best memory engine for chess.
Exactly. So because you are giving it that much importance.
Oh, for me it's like my parents, man. My chess positions are like parents to me. Wow. And my family.
You might see a person and say, "Oh, hi mom, or hi dad."
Wow. No, that makes sense. Makes sense. And so so that makes total sense. And then of course I don't have to when I'm doing memory game, I'm not using my face recognition memory. I'm using some other memory, which is probably not really. So in fact, by training the memory game, improving at memory game, I will not do any benefit to my chess memory, right? Or will I as well?
You will get better at remembering information at a short term. So if say somebody tells you that, okay, tomorrow your opponent is this and these are his top favorite 10 moves. This is
some short. I see. Yeah. That's why my short-term memory is not so good, because I don't remember numbers very well. I don't remember anything very well, to be honest. So I mean the short-term things.
So all those things you will be. It might benefit you in chess to know what are your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. So these are all factual things. You might remember that, okay, he likes to make a certain move in the end game, and that if you remember, it might give you an advantage.
Something short term.
Yeah.
And I see. And so to get better at memory, you just have to do it more. Practice.
Neural networks. When the more they fire together, the more they wire together. That is a saying in neuroscience. So it's called as the Hebbian synapse. So the more a particular network fire, the stronger that connection becomes. So you have to keep firing it in order to make it smoother. So the next time it fires much more easily.
And does it make sense? Because for example, I want to beat them at memory game, yeah. So does it? Because there is also such thing as effort. For example, or with the phone number, you can try to memorize something, right? Or does this effort, how much role does this effort play to memory, or not? It doesn't help me very much, but it probably will. No, if you really try hard. Does it help?
Yeah. It's a very tricky question. I mean, it's a very complex question, because when you say you're trying to remember something, you are actually trying to remember units of information. Okay, so you're trying to remember units of information. Now, if I give you a sentence like, I will go to Amsterdam tomorrow for 2 days, and I tell you to remember this, there will be 8 to 9 different words, but you will be able to remember it. Even if I tell you after 1 hour, repeat that sentence to me, you will be able to remember it. But if I give you 8 to 9 numbers, you may not be able to remember it, because you have not made any connection between the numbers. Whereas these random words, you have formed a connection and said, okay, this has a meaning. I will go to Amsterdam tomorrow for 2 days has a meaning. So now you remember the meaning, not the individual words.
Yeah, I see. So you basically have to use tricks to chunk things together.
Chunking, exactly, which is what you do in chess all the time.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Also when kids, I remember I watched on some kind of Ellen show or something, there was the kid who remembered very well the name of some provinces. And at some point she asked him and how do you remember this? And he says that, well, this looks like a triangle or something, So
exactly,
they do some associations, right, with everything.
So the way you perceive information is everything. So if you give information to somebody in a 100-word document, they will have much more trouble understanding it. Whereas one good diagram explaining that whole concept is much easier. because your brain then perceives it as 1 unit of information, whereas 100 words is much more information, even though it is the same information, but the way you portray it makes a difference.
Yeah. But basically, my main question was, why am I so bad at memory game and so good at chess memory? Now this is quite easy. It's just different types of memory, simply, and used by different areas of the brain as well. That there,
yes.
Yeah, no, but it's true. It's also in general what we discovered maybe it's obvious for many people, but what we discovered today is that chess also, and in general, this we chunk it like as one thing. For us, we have one word memory, one word chess. But for a brain scientist, chess is like this, and that, and the memory also is all kinds of different areas. Exactly. But yeah, I think it was very, very interesting conversation. Also, I'm really interested with that subcortex, that intuition thing. I'll read up a bit on that. I'm sure there must have been some studies where they did MRT scans of chess players and stuff. I'm curious to see.
I'll send you some. If I find some, I'll share it with you.
Yeah, so definitely very, very interesting. Thanks a lot for your time. It was really fantastic, and I think a lot of food for thought, and that's, I think, most important. And I also watched on your Instagram, you did a little multitasking. One of these days, you did a talk on multitasking, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I watched it while shaving, so I did some multitasking there as well. But
that's multitasking.
But it was quite interesting how you say something, and for everybody picks something for himself. Yeah, like somebody was an engineer and he thought something of that himself, and I, as a chess player, I also thought in terms of focus, in terms of, because you were saying that multitasking, people are prone to do it. So you bet at the start, you better control it rather than let it go, and then so you better choose a few things on which you focus. Rather than just choose one and then fail the focusing and get distracted by random things. Better get distracted by good things. But then when you said that at the end, when you're preparing for the final exam, you have to focus on one thing. And for me, it also I connected it with, let's say, preparing for a top tournament. Let's say, while I'm throughout the whole year, I cannot be fully focused. Of course, I'm more focused on chess than any other random person. But still, when there is a top tournament coming up, it's a different degree of attention.
And to even expect that you could be in that 100% state of focus all year round, all your life, is not sensible. It is not going to work.
No, it's unrealistic.
Yeah, it's unrealistic, and it shouldn't happen like that. So instead what you can do is hack your attention. So you only set up your distraction, so that you are going to get distracted anyway. So you may as well pick a couple of other distractions too.
That's for sure what I have done. I'm definitely doing a bunch of different things, but intuitively I'm picking them out myself. And then for the rest, YouTube recommends it all to me. So there's an algorithm for that. No, anyway, but it was great. Thank you a lot for your time. I'm sure we'll meet a lot in the coming time if you keep sharing your knowledge with us so kindly. It's been remarkable since this coronavirus. It gave opportunity to all of us to listen to some people like you. Normally never have time for this, and now you are there, providing knowledge for people. It's really, really very nice. Very nice.
It's been such a pleasure being here, Anish. Thank you so much for calling me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, see you.
Bye. Bye, chat.
Okay, guys, that was fantastic. That was very nice. Thank you for Sagar and of course Dr. Sid for his contributions and for this beautiful talk. I see a lot of people enjoyed it. It's really nice to see. I didn't know how it would go in terms of in terms of viewership and in terms of likes. I have a lot of likes, but in terms of all that. But I didn't care too much because I just wanted to have a conversation anyway. I was very curious about a few things, and I got a better idea of obviously my questions were not all answered. I didn't expect that, but I got a better idea about many things, and we heard the of course importance of sleep and physical training, and also we spoke a lot about memory and the complexity of how one activity is actually managed by different areas of the brain. I think that was quite interesting. I see lots of hearts in the chat, lots of Lots of happy people here. Yeah, yes. The fact about spaces being recognized the same way as chess positions. Yeah, that's amazing. Like the brain starts prioritizing chess so much that it says, now let's take my best, my best memory tool, the one for the faces, and apply it to chess. Wow, that's the brain's dedication to chess, man. But it explains a lot. And it makes me feel less bad because when I started losing in memory to my sister and my wife and all, I got a bit worried. I thought like, well, maybe my my chess memory is also deteriorating. But then now we know it's just different things, and I should still train my memory game. I wanna beat them, but that's beside the point. Yeah, I think everyone enjoyed it. That was really nice. Good to see that you guys enjoyed it. I didn't know because it's something I've never done before. I definitely enjoyed it myself. A lot of food for thought. As I said, not all questions are answered, but I know at least where to look at, and there's some starting point for all of you. I think that was it. I will continue. Actually, I have another stream coming up. Today we played the second. Yesterday we had the Pro Chess League, and today we played the match for the bronze medal with the chess brass. So that will start, I think, in just over an hour. So I will rest a little bit and go ahead and play that. I will try to use my intuition mostly because I think that subcortex thing is gonna do the job. But if something doesn't work today, we'll blame it all on Dr. Sid, that subcortex that he made me trust. But let's see. The subcortex idea, guys, I found it very interesting. The thought that there is calculation going on, the calculation that you are unaware of. Oh, one thing, I should read super chats. Yeah, now Shivam reminded me. Please do such things more often. I also connected things with my routine things. Ejida was amazing by Mikaro Hakamura. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how often I do such things, but I just wanted to have, for now, one conversation. I think it was amazing. Let me read the super chats. I missed a bunch of messages. Let me see. I see Sagar Shah joined the stream. Yeah, by Abhijit. No, I do the same. Sagar is, he's always keen to learn, and one of the reasons I invited him is, first of all, it's always good to have him around, but also he had few talks with Dr. Sid as well, not one-on-one, but he's met him, and I've never met him before, so I thought it would be easier to have a person also who knows both of us, just to have that smooth flow to the conversation. Yes, Sagar's contribution was also very interesting. Sagar is always trying to bring everything back to improving at chess. I think he is he's a chess coach at heart, and that's very good to see. For longer term, is it good to hack emotions? Yeah, you have to hack emotions. We learned that, man. Emotions. You have to have no anger. You have to have some fear. Fear is important. What was the other one? Negative emotion? Sadness. Oh, sadness is very bad. Yeah, I sometimes have sadness. It's awful. Get rid of sadness. Just eat some chocolate. Which is what I'm doing now. Hey, I've been waiting to ask someone. I'm very much addicted to chess. I feel low if I don't play chess. At any time of the day, I play chess, which is affecting my focus and job. Yeah, you see? You have to never feel low. Just play chess. Oh, a law of attraction. This one couldn't ask. 1600 backrank made Samay Ross's back. Yeah, no, it was just a little in-between joke there. Hikaru calculation versus Magnus intuition. I think intuition is stronger than calculation, as Magnus is on the top. You cannot say that. They both use calculation and intuition, and the way they're balanced. I mean, the reason Magnus is currently stronger than Hikaru is, I mean, it's not a difference in approach, right? But yeah, of course, Hikaru also has intuition. Like, he has intuition for different things, but yeah, he has like we all have a hybrid of calculation and intuition, just to a different extent. Yeah, I think that was it for the messages. Get some dopamine. Yeah. AG should start late night show and bring new guests every time. No, guys. Yeah, many ideas for when I retire, but currently I'm going to play chess in an hour and banking on my subcortex. New plan. We're gonna bank on the subcortex, guys. New approach. Should always be very careful, by the way. If you are a top chess player, I don't know which top chess player is listening to this, should be careful drawing conclusions from such inspirational talks, because already the way you do things is on such high level that if you if you fine tune something too abruptly, it may cause a negative effect, especially at the start. But and for the long term, I think this was a very useful conversation. I'll keep thinking, keep reading about these things, and hopefully to help me improve at chess and at life, and it will do the same to you. Are you playing Lichess Arena tonight? That's a good question. I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure. I might play Lichess Arena. I might do it. But yeah, I think that was it. Thank you all for watching, and bye bye.